A simple 150-mile drive home turned into this just multi-state tragedy.
Hmm.
And it proves, really, that when you have these critical elderly health risks and they collide with a total lack of personal technology,
Yeah.
even a massive, sophisticated government search effort can just arrive way too late.
That is the devastating takeaway from the Charles and Linda Lightfoot case. I
Yeah.
mean, what we are looking at here is not a failure of law enforcement to mobilize.
Not at all.
They threw every resource imaginable at this. This was a failure to outrun the clock because, the clock started running days before the search could even begin.
So let's lay out the timeline for you. Charles Gary Lightfoot, 82, and his wife Linda, 81. They vanished on Thanksgiving. That was November 27th.
Right.
They were driving from Panhandle, Texas, toward Lubbock. It should have been a short trip, a couple of hours at most.
But they were found 5 days later, deceased, on Tuesday, December 2nd, near Tucumcari, New Mexico. And investigators believe hypothermia was the tragic cause.
So the central question we're really digging into here is why? I mean, why did this happen?
Exactly. This couple triggered the full Silver Alert system. This is a rapid, multi-state protocol designed for this exact scenario. We saw 6 agencies across 2 states,
Texas and New Mexico.
deploying helicopters, drones, hundreds of personnel, and yet it failed to deliver a timely rescue.
So we're cutting through the noise. We're pulling key insights from reports that detail the Silver Alert mechanism, the internal NCIC protocols, and the specific tracking data they use to piece this all together.
Our mission today is to analyze the limits of that system, right? When it hits that dangerous intersection of medical fragility and, well, a complete technological absence.
So let's start with that vulnerability because it sets the whole catastrophic timeline in motion.
Okay, so the crucial detail is this. Gary Lightfoot was oxygen dependent.
Right.
This wasn't just a typical missing persons case. The family emphasized immediately, and this is a quote, "Time is critical."
That detail just elevates the situation instantly. It transforms the whole thing into an immediate and credible threat to their health and safety.
Which is the trigger.
It's the trigger word. It's the prerequisite for the fastest mechanisms the state has. The Silver Alert is designed specifically for this missing elderly 65 plus with cognitive issues or, facing imminent danger.
The system is absolutely built for speed. But speed is, well, it's useless without a starting point.
And there's the problem.
While the Lightfoots vanished on Thursday, the official Silver Alert from Texas wasn't issued until Sunday, November 30th.
3 days.
3 days were lost. 3 days that couple was battling the elements in a silver Camry hundreds of miles off course. And this leads us right to the crippling technology gap.
And here's where a private decision really compounded the public crisis. The source reports are very specific on this. Neither Linda nor Gary had a cell phone. Not one. Nor any other traceable instruments.
Just think about what that means today in 2024. If you have a phone, law enforcement can typically subpoena the carrier for real-time location data.
And that often leads to a pretty rapid resolution.
But because the Lightfoots lack this basic technology, investigators couldn't just pull a GPS ping. They were forced back to this fragmented, almost analog search.
Based entirely on external data points.
Exactly. It instantly reduced the search from find the moving signal to find the needle in a haystack.
A huge haystack.
A multi-state haystack.
Yeah.
They were relying only on occasional license plate reader data and just hoping for public sightings to construct a route, piece by agonizing piece.
And that lack of personal preparedness, whether it was a choice or just an oversight, it immediately slashed the tiny margin for error that the whole state system was prepared to grant them.
And that tech gap, it often affects the most vulnerable populations, unfortunately. A lot of elderly individuals, they prefer older phones or they just avoid GPS systems entirely.
Sure, for cost or privacy reasons.
Of course. But in this case, that choice meant that the only actionable evidence this massive search could work from was a license plate number. And that information is just slow to generate, to filter, and to confirm.
So once that data was finally confirmed and the Silver Alert was issued on Sunday, the system did swing into action.
It did.
And that's really what we're looking at next. This huge multi-state mobilization. The alert system's job is mass dissemination, and it performed extremely well on that front.
Absolutely. The vehicle details: a silver 2024 Toyota Camry Texas plate, TWN0925. They were just blasted out across the region.
Highway signs, media channels.
Everywhere. And that public call to action, it successfully directed this massive law enforcement effort hundreds of miles away from their intended route.
And we can trace those initial movements, right? The license plate readers track the Camry going through Groom, Texas on Thanksgiving evening. At that point, still on track for Lubbock.
But here's the startling fact that reveals the disorientation. The next reliable logs show that vehicle hundreds of miles off course.
Hundreds.
Deep into rural New Mexico, near Santa Rosa or San Juan, by Friday or Saturday. They had crossed the state line and missed their 150-mile destination by this massive margin.
That deviation had to signal a medical crisis, not just a simple wrong turn.
It had to. And the Silver Alert worked to generate the critical leads that confirmed it. Someone near Santa Rosa reported seeing that car on the side of the road on Highway 84.
So a public tip.
A specific public tip. And that was the signal that directed the entire search apparatus away from the plains of Texas and into the cold, rugged terrain of Quay County, New Mexico.
And what followed was just this immediate, overwhelming surge of state resources. I mean, this was the government throwing the kitchen sink at the problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
We're talking about Panhandle PD, the Carson County Sheriff's Office, Texas DPS.
The Texas Rangers got involved.
New Mexico State Police, Quay County officials, all coordinating across state lines. It was a huge effort.
And the logistical and financial scale of this, I mean, it must have been tremendous.
It was. New Mexico State Police deployed multiple resources, specialized search teams, but critically, we know that helicopters and drones were dedicated specifically to sweeping those rural stretches near I-40.
And that kind of aerial surveillance is expensive. It's resource intensive.
And it was deployed instantly because of that endangered missing elderly classification. The coordination was, you have to say, impressive. It shows that when the state is given a clear mandate and a direction,
even a broad one like New Mexico,
the government resources mobilize, and they mobilize rapidly. But the flaw remains. All this manpower, all this high-tech surveillance was working on old, fragmented data. It was trying to catch up to a time window that had already almost closed.
Right. And to manage a search of this scale, there has to be a robust federal system in place.
Which brings us to the spine of this cross-state cooperation, the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC.
Okay, so this level of coordination, it relies on a serious regulatory backbone. NCIC is the federal database. It's the ultimate digital clearinghouse for this kind of thing.
That's right. It lets law enforcement agencies exchange critical, detailed information on missing persons, especially when they think interstate travel is involved.
Which it clearly was here.
Right. And the Lightfoot's profile, it fit the criteria for an endangered missing elderly EME entry. Now, this classification isn't just bureaucratic language.
No, it's a trigger.
It's a trigger. It confirms the missing person faces an immediate critical threat to their physical safety. And that, in turn, prioritizes all the search assets, including the air support and federal help like the Texas Rangers.
And the regulatory rigor behind this system is intense. For instance, New Mexico law enforcement is mandated. They have to enter this info into their state clearinghouse and NCIC no later than 2 hours after getting a report.
2 hours.
If it meets the urgency criteria. The rules are designed for blistering speed.
Okay, now let's put that 2-hour mandate right next to the 3-day delay between their disappearance on Thursday and the Silver Alert being issued on Sunday.
It's a huge disconnect.
It raises a critical question. If the system has these strict mandates for speed, why was the public notification and the federal entry, which hinges on that endangered classification, why was it delayed?
Even if you allow for some initial reporting and confirmation time, that 3-day gap just drastically undercut the system's entire design.
And the NCIC is this central archive. It contains every hard detail, vehicle ID, dental records, even body art, all designed to confirm an identity after the fact.
But the system's best technology for prevention, the Silver Alert, it relies entirely on that immediate report and the presence of traceable movements.
So what does this all mean when we look at the total system performance? I mean, the Silver Alert acted like a massive, expensive searchlight.
Right.
It successfully cast a light over a vast, dark region. It illuminated the final direction, New Mexico, and it mobilized the rescue vessels, the helicopters, the drones, the whole multi-agency effort.
The system worked to illuminate the area, but the vessel, that silver Camry, was already stranded. It was succumbing to the environment too quickly.
Exactly. The alert successfully directed the massive response, but that response couldn't pinpoint the exact location and time because the search had to rely on slow historical data rather than real-time tracking.
Which brings us to the core tragic irony of this.
The successful activation of the most powerful, multi-jurisdictional search mechanism available did not lead to a timely discovery that could save their lives. The operational protocols, the EME classification, the 2-hour mandates, they were all rigorous, but the time window, which was created by that initial delay and the lack of private tech, was just simply too narrow for even the best government response to overcome.
So we've spent the last few minutes detailing the full, immediate deployment of state and federal law enforcement systems. This is the absolute best available mechanism.
And it costs taxpayers untold amounts in man-hours and logistical support.
And yet that narrow window for rescue, it's just closed too fast. The lack of basic personal preparedness, no cell phone, no traceable instrument, it just drastically shortened the margin for error provided by the state.
And this Lightfoot case, it provides a stark and really actionable lesson for every family listening, especially if you have vulnerable elderly relatives.
It really does.
When time is critical because of a medical dependency, that technologically aided communication is your single most vital insurance policy.
Right.
Even the most efficient and coordinated law enforcement mobilization is rendered totally ineffective if they lack that initial pinpoint tracking data. The difference between life and death in the first 72 hours is often determined by a single $50 GPS tracker, not by a $50,000 helicopter search.
We detailed the NCIC requirements, which demand this extensive documentation of every physical characteristic, dental records, moles, scars, all, to ensure identification after the fact. So given these life or death stakes and the massive financial burden of these searches when a simple GPS signal is missing, here's the thought we want to leave you with. Should private technology companies be federally mandated to develop and integrate simple, low-cost GPS tracking devices into key medical equipment or even vehicles for vulnerable elderly citizens?
And, crucially, allowing authorities to bypass strict privacy concerns only after an official time-critical alert like the Silver Alert is issued.
It's a profound policy question raised by this tragic time crunch, and it demands we weigh public safety against our current privacy practices.